This is Mama Unleashed. Knowledge, information, truth and tools for you, so you can become the happiest mother you know. Hello and welcome to Mama Unleashed, the podcast for women who want the most out of motherhood to feel truly happy. I'm your host, Dr. Jennifer Hacker-Pearson. I'm a mom of three and I've suffered in motherhood. I did all the things I thought I had to do as a mother, and in the process, I completely lost myself as a person. I became extremely unhappy and I was crippled with anxiety. And at my rock bottom, I used my PhD in neuroscience, my degree in psychotherapy, and my meditation teacher accreditation to teach myself how to thrive in motherhood. I've since helped hundreds of mothers feel happier in motherhood by teaching them information, knowledge, and science-based tools they can adapt into their busy lives to thrive. Mama Unleashed, this podcast, is an extension of my work because I want every mother to have information, knowledge, and tools so you can unleash yourself and feel truly happy. Thank you very much for being here and for your interest in learning how to thrive and feel happier in Matrescence. In case you haven't heard of Matrescence before, it is the developmental transformation a woman goes through when she becomes a mother. It is arguably a lifelong transformation, and I will talk about it a little bit more in a minute. But I was just thinking, it's a funny thing, isn't it? Becoming a mother and motherhood is probably the only massive event in a woman's life that we're not really educated about or prepared for. I mean, the childbirth and looking after the baby so it thrives, we've kind of got that covered. But how we change and how we look after ourselves so we, the mother, can thrive, not so much. And I want to change that. And today I want to give you an exercise that has the potential to turn your motherhood experience on its head in a good way. Now, in a woman's life, there are three of these massive events. Becoming a mother is just one of them. And we can actually divide them into reproductive stages. There's menarche, which is adolescence, when a girl becomes a woman and starts menstruating and thereby has the ability to reproduce. Then there's matrescence, when we become a woman. When we become a mother, when a woman becomes a mother, i.e. she's reproducing. And menopause, when we cease menstruating and our ability to reproduce comes to an end. You may not have heard of the term menarche before, but you know about the menstrual period and adolescence. In fact, if you're listening to this, I'm willing to bet that you have gone through it. So how much did you know about menstruation and adolescence before you went through it? Most young girls know that they will get their period around approximately 12 years of age. I know my 8-year-old is very aware of it and asks me so many questions. I understand that in our house, conversations around periods and childbirth and pregnancy and postpartum are probably a bit different than in most other households. But aside from this, both my 8-year-old girl plus my 10 and 12-year-old boys know that from a certain age, a female will bleed for a few days once per month because she's not pregnant. Now imagine we didn't have this knowledge or the understanding around menstruation or menarche. Imagine a girl wakes up in one morning to find her sheets stained with blood and she has no idea what is going on or what's happened. I mean, you'd be forgiven for thinking something is really wrong with you. But as girls, we know what to expect around periods and we have a certain understanding of what adolescence is all about. If we have any questions or concerns about ourselves during adolescence, there's lots of information. In fact, if you search the word adolescence in peer-reviewed scientific journal articles, these are like the gold standard of science, you'll find that you can access the information and data of close to 2.5 million high science articles that have been published on the topic of adolescence. In fact, there are whole journals that are dedicated purely to adolescence, which is fabulous. Similarly, you've probably also heard about menopause before. You may not know a lot about it yet, but you know that it happens, and what it means and how you feel when you reach that stage of your reproductive life. Additionally, if you have any questions, you can Google them, which is often helpful. Ask a trusted woman in your life who has gone through it, and even find close to 100,000 quality peer-reviewed journal articles that can inform you about menopause. And this goes right into women's experiences with symptoms, data on therapy, specific science, and down to whether you should or shouldn't exercise beyond menopause. Matrescence, the middle child of these massive events in a woman's life, unfortunately is still largely unknown. You search matrescence in peer-reviewed scientific journal articles and you will find a grand total of 7 articles. Yes, 7. The earliest of which was published in 2006, so not even that long ago. Now, I would like to add that there are some great articles written about the process of becoming a mother that are either not peer-reviewed or do not use the actual word matrescence. So they won't be included in this tally, but I think you understand my point. Matrescence is understudied, it is undervalued, and it is largely unknown. Now, if you think back to the example of the girl waking in the blood-stained sheets, this is what happens to women when we become mothers. It's like we wake up after childbirth and we're changed. We feel different. Our whole world has been turned upside down and we have no idea what's going on. Sadly, the term matrescence is still largely unknown, and we don't really talk about this phase of a woman's life. And let's face it, most people, including healthcare workers, have never heard about matrescence. So there's no language around it. And then how on earth are we meant to understand what is going on with us when we become mothers when there is nothing to teach us? More importantly, how can we prepare ourselves for this humongous life-changing transition when there is little knowledge or information around the topic for us to find? Well, I don't want one more mother to enter motherhood feeling confused, split, or worried that there is something wrong with her. I believe that just as we can prepare ourselves with knowledge, information, and tools to go into adolescence and menopause with our eyes wide open and awareness under our belt, so should we have the opportunity to enter and journey through matrescence, educated, prepared, and ready to thrive. And that is why I do what I do. But let me go back a second. Let's talk about matrescence. As I said earlier, matrescence is the all-encompassing developmental transition a woman goes through when she becomes a mother. She's transformed physically, psychologically, emotionally, hormonally, socially, and spiritually. Every woman will go through matrescence every time she has a baby, and every time it might look different. It's been suggested that matrescence begins when a woman starts thinking about becoming pregnant, and it lasts a whole lifetime, and I truly believe that. The word matrescence was coined in the mid-1970s, so not even that long ago, by medical anthropologist Dana Raphael, and thankfully it has recently been revived by clinical psychologist Dr. Aurelie Athan. Dr. Raphael hoped that the term matrescence would acknowledge the transition from woman to mother and to normalize rather than pathologize the mixed feelings that women experience in motherhood. Now, just to clarify, pathologize means to regard as psychologically abnormal. And herein lies the problem, right? Because we have little terminology around this transition into and through motherhood. So whatever the experience is that we have, the chances are that it's going to be classed as psychologically abnormal. Now think about that for a second. It's nuts. So let me just say that sentence again. Dr. Raphael hoped that the word matrescence would acknowledge the transition from woman to mother and to normalize, rather than regard as psychologically abnormal, the mixed feelings women experience in motherhood. Honestly, when I first read this, I cried. It hit me so hard and hit me right in the heart. I felt like I was finally understood. And if only after I had my third baby, I knew that what I was feeling was absolutely normal. If only I knew back then that the way I was feeling was due to the huge transformation I was going through as a person. And if only I knew back then everything I know now about matrescence, you know what I would have done? I would have written myself a matrescence plan. Forget the childbirth plan. I would have written an empowering matrescence plan for how I would navigate matrescence. And I would have got curious about how matrescence may manifest for me. If only I knew. But I know now, and I also know that we can see how the brain changes in a woman when she becomes a mother, which is extremely important to me being a neuroscientist. We can see the dynamic structural and functional changes in the brain which help mothers move from being an individual with self-directed needs to being responsible to care for another's life. We can see that there are adaptations in brain areas that foster the mother-baby relationship. And we can see that matrescence is the catalyst for brain changes that result in increased maternal behavior, amongst others. So it would make sense that the brain changes, many of which we are yet to identify, are also responsible for the fact that we feel different when we become mothers, the fact that we feel these mixed feelings. What I also understand now is that when we enter matrescence, we, the woman, get a shake-up. A bit like a magic 8-ball. You know that toy, you ask it a question, you shake it up vigorously, which is a great analogy for motherhood in general, I think. And it gives you an answer, shake, 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 and it gives you the answer. Well, when you shake up that magic 8-ball of motherhood in matrescence, you land somewhere on a spectrum of feelings and emotions. That's the answer to your question to the magic 8-ball. Now, I'll call this the 50 shades of motherhood feelings and emotions. I talk about this spectrum a lot when I teach about matrescence. And while, of course, there are more than 50 shades, the idea is that when matrescence shakes us up, like the magic 8-ball, we land somewhere on the spectrum which ranges in color from red on one side, which is indicative of suffering and struggling, feeling depressed and anxious and so forth, through all the shades of red to white. So from red all the way through to white. And white is the ideal feelings of motherhood. Feeling peaceful, free, calm, fulfilled, content, and truly happy. But of course, it isn't all potluck, as the magic 8-ball analogy might suggest. Surprise, surprise. There are other influences in which shade of emotion we start on in matrescence, such as, where should I start? Biochemical makeup, our neuroscientific traits, the neurochemical and neuropsychological makeup of our brain, our psychosocial history, how we were raised, what values and beliefs we were brought up with, our social network, our neuropsychological history, and of course our previous experiences. And let's not forget that on top of that, we have to consider how our brain and mind change when we become mothers. This is just the tip of the iceberg. But imagine you knew all this about matrescence and how it may impact you before you had your baby. How would knowledge and information, this kind of knowledge and information, have changed your experience, especially in the early days? Would you have understood yourself better in motherhood? Would you understand yourself better now? Would it have allowed you to give yourself more grace as you transition into this new woman who is now also a mother? In recent years, I got really curious about this, and especially all the factors that can play a part in my matrescence experience. So I decided to write myself a matrescence plan, which is kind of like a birth plan, but just for me. I wrote about what I imagined, what I wished for, what I already knew about myself, what about my past had already come up for me in motherhood, or what may come up as I continue to journey through matrescence. Who do I want to become as a woman? Who do I want to become as a mother? How do I allow myself to transition? How do I want matrescence to look for me? There were so many questions and curiosities, and I can not tell you what a powerful exercise it was. Now, I already had 3 children when I did this. I wasn't just becoming a mother or entering matrescence. I was in matrescence. I was experiencing matrescence well and truly. And writing this matrescence plan honestly changed my life and my whole experience of motherhood. Having this understanding around matrescence and myself within motherhood, and understanding that what this might mean for me as a woman, was such an empowering gift to myself. It opened up an opportunity to truly thrive in matrescence. And it got me thinking, would my motherhood life have been different had I had the knowledge and understanding around matrescence that I have now? I wonder how matrescence would have been had I been encouraged to write a matrescence plan instead of, or let's say as well as a birth plan before I had my babies. How much would I have stepped into my power in matrescence rather than letting the suffering take power over me? And how much would I have thrived and entered motherhood with courage, curiosity, and strength? Well, I kind of know the answer, because when I work with mums-to-be, I share all this information and more I have around matrescence with them, and I encourage them and support them to write their own empowered matrescence plan before they have their baby. We go through everything together in detail, which results in them writing a plan for themselves that is not only empowering for her, the woman, but leaves her feeling calm, clear, and really prepared. So I have seen many times the impact this seemingly simple plan can have on a woman's transition into motherhood. She starts her whole motherhood journey from a place of power, filled with understanding and much, much less worry and fear. The results are so profound, in fact, that I want every mum to have the ability to prepare for this matrescence journey in such a way. So I turn these teachings into a mini course. 5 lessons in videos that include worksheets to write your empowered matrescence plan, plus a 15-page workbook to go alongside the lessons, so you can really delve into yourself and into matrescence, just like I do individually with my clients. This way you have understanding about yourself and matrescence and how your life to this point may impact your matrescence journey. It's really simple, but honestly, it can change the trajectory of your motherhood life. Of course, you don't have to buy this course. I just want you to know it exists. But please, write a plan for yourself regardless, no matter what stage of motherhood you're at. I've seen the impact it has on women, especially as they enter motherhood, but just generally, I've seen the impact it's had on myself. So please write it. Ask yourself questions. Dig deep. Go there. Go there. Have the courage to go there. Have the curiosity to go there. And if you'd like a hand in doing so and delving deeply, my mini course is there for you. You can find out all about it at drjen.com.au/courses. That's drjen.com.au/courses. Please remember, this course exists when you speak with your pregnant friends. Let them know how information, knowledge, and a simple yet empowered matrescence plan can truly change the trajectory of their matrescence experience. Or better still, why not gift it to her for her baby shower gift? I'll put the direct link to this powerful mini course in the notes below and in the show notes. Now, I rewrite my matrescence plan regularly as I transition into different phases of motherhood and my relationship with myself changes. Every time more comes up for me. I find it so freeing, which is why I encourage every mum to do it, because I want you to truly thrive in matrescence. I want you to understand matrescence. I want you to understand yourself in motherhood. And I want you to understand how matrescence changes you so you can journey into and through motherhood filled with knowledge, power, and true deep happiness. Thank you for listening to Mama Unleashed. I'm Dr. Jennifer Hacker Pearson. I hope to see you next time or meet you soon in one of my courses.